Hey guys, what is happening? So today we're going to be talking about inverse trig functions, okay? And before we get started, let me just ask you this. The sine of what angle gives us -1/2? Okay? So if you're not sure how to start, here's a hint. Okay? All right. Pause it if you need more time. Here we go. All right, so the sine of what angle gives us -1/2? So if you look here, well, the sine here is +1/2, so that's not the one. This one over here is blank, so here, let me just double check. Let's figure this out. This is 150 degrees. Oops, it goes here, 150 degrees, or that's 5 pi over 6. Let's see. 5 pi over 6. And if you're still not sure how to do that stuff, please come to office hours. I've got to help you on that, okay? All right, and that is negative radical 3 over 2. So negative radical 3 over 2 and up 1/2. Okay, so the sine here is 1/2, the sine here is 1/2. Let's try down here. The sine here is -1/2. Okay, so that works. And let's check over here. We didn't get this guy here. This is 330, I think. So 330, 7 pi. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong one there. This is 330. 330. Okay, and that would be what is that? 11 pi over 6. All right, and that guy right there is rad 3 over 2, and then down 1/2. So the sign here is -1/2. Okay, so it looks like we've got two different answers, don't we? It looks like we have 7 pi over 6 and also 11 pi over 6. Those two guys, if I take the sine of 11 pi over 6, it gives me -1/2. If I take the sine of 7 pi over 6 or the sine of 210, if you don't believe me, here we go, watch this. So the sine of 210 should be -0.5. There it is, -0.5, okay? All right, so there we go. So you can say that the sine of what angle, so the angle theta would be, just like what we said, it would be, what did we say, 210 degrees, or what else did we say? All right. 210 degrees or 330 degrees, right? Or 330 degrees. Okay, well, which one's the correct answer? Okay, well, they're all correct answers, but they're actually not really what we want, okay? So, and I'll explain this in a second, okay? So here's the deal. This is how we're going to say this. The sine of what angle gives us -1/2? Well, to find these angles, I know that if I take the sine of the angle 210, that gives me -1/2. Well, how do I go backwards? How would I use my calculator to start off with this and get this? You would have to say this. The sine, okay, inverse, the inverse sine, right, of that ratio, -1/2, is going to equal theta, okay? So that's how it works. That's how you're going to write it, okay? But here's the problem. You ready for this? All right. Taking the inverse goes backwards, right? If I take the sine of 210, I get -1/2. So if I take the inverse sine of -1/2, I should get 210. But wait, the calculator is going to give me an answer. How does it know to give me 210 or 330? Well, guess what? I've got another problem. Watch this. I'm going to take the inverse sine of -0.5 and watch what it gives me. It gives me -30. Neither one of those. So what? So how do we figure this out? Okay, well, here's the thing, all right? Give me the reference angle for 330. Okay, give me the reference angle for 210. Notice anything there? The reference angle for each of those is 30, okay? So the thing is, when we're doing inverse trig functions, okay, we have to kind of limit our choices, okay? So far, if I said the sine of what angle gives us negative 1/2, well, you have an infinite number of choices. You have 210, you have 330, you have negative 30, and the list goes on and on and on. So what we have to do is kind of like narrow that down, okay? And so here's what we're going to do, all right? So the first thing you need to do to limit those choices, all right, let's title this Finding Inverse Trig Values, or trig functions, okay? First thing we need to do is, when we're talking about the sine, we're going to limit ourselves to 2 quadrants, okay? And it's going to be between 90 degrees and negative 90 degrees, okay? All right, so now, here's how we do it. I'm going to put a plus here, and I'm going to put a minus here, okay? If our ratio is positive, okay, then our angle is going to be in this quadrant, okay? If our ratio is negative, then our angle is going to be in this quadrant, okay? All right. If our ratio is positive, then our angle is going to be between 0 and 90 degrees. If the ratio is negative, then our angle is going to be between 0 and negative 90 degrees. Okay, watch this. Wasn't the ratio I gave you negative? Okay, our ratio is negative, so where should my answer be? Where should my angle be? It should be here, right? Well, let's see what the calculator told me. Yeah, negative 30. Isn't negative 30 between 0 and negative 90 degrees? Okay, so that's what's happening. Watch. What would the sine of positive, or the inverse sine of positive 0.5 be? Well, it would be up in this quadrant. It's going to be positive 30. Watch. I'll do the inverse sine of positive 0.5. It's going to give me positive 30, okay? All right, so that's for the sine. All right, let's do the cosine. Cosine's going to be a little bit different, okay? All right, so now it's going to be over here. All right, if the ratio is positive, your angle will be in the first quadrant. If your ratio is negative, your angle will be in the second quadrant. So we're looking for anywhere from 0 to 180 degrees, okay? All right, so if your ratio is negative, okay, then your angle should be between 90 and 180. Here, let's just try it. Watch, the cosine here. Ready? Watch this. The inverse cosine, pick a negative something, okay? So how about negative 0.7? Why not? I don't care, okay? Well, watch this. Ready? Negative 0.7, okay? The ratio's negative, okay? So my angle should be somewhere between 90 and 180. Let's see what happens. You ready? Look at that. 134. That's between 90 and 180. Okay, so that's what your calculator is always going to give you. Okay? All right, and then finally we have the tangent. All right. And looks like this. Oops. We're between 90, negative, we're in the first quadrant and the fourth quadrant again, just like the sine, okay? And if the ratio is positive, your angle is going to be in the first quadrant. If your ratio is negative, your angle is going to be in this quadrant. And I know it's the fourth quadrant, but it's going to be between 0 and 90. 0 and negative 90, okay? All right, we'll practice that. Let's do some examples. All right, let's go the sine, the inverse sine of negative 1/2, okay, equals theta. All right, well, we don't have to put equals, all right. So let's just look at our, okay, look at our thing, our sheet. Okay, the sine of what angle gives us negative 1/2? Well, we already did it, okay. We already did it. So negative 1/2. It's either going to be in the first quadrant or the fourth quadrant, right, according to this. Okay. Well, here's the negative 1/2. Okay, so that's 330 degrees. All right, 330 degrees. Okay. Let's try the tangent. Okay, let's try this. The inverse tangent of 1. Okay. All right, well, let's see. It's positive, right? So the inverse tangent of 1, right? Tangent. The ratio is a positive 1, so we're going to look up here. Okay, so which angle gives us a ratio of 1? Well, it's radical 2 over 2 over radical 2 over 2, so that's 45. Okay, 45. Okay, let's do another really quick. Let's go the tangent, the inverse tangent of negative radical 3 over 3. Okay. All right. Notice my ratio is negative. So look up here. If my ratio is negative, I'm going to be in this quadrant right there. Okay. All right. So radical 3 over 3, but it's negative radical 3 over 3. Okay. Now that one's going to be kind of hard to find. Okay. All right. So here's how it is. Okay. Look at it. This guy right here, negative 1/2 over radical 3 over 2. Okay. This simplifies to negative 1 over radical 3. Okay. And what does that simplify to? Okay, that simplifies to negative radical 3 over 3. So this is the guy I'm looking at, this angle right here. That's 330. Now before you write down 330, okay, that's not going to work. That's not your answer. Why? Why is 330 not your answer? It says it right here. That's where you said to go. That's not your answer. Is 330 in between 0 and negative 90? No. Okay, so 330, what's the reference angle? It's 30 degrees, so just subtract off 30 degrees. So it's negative 30. Okay? And if you don't believe me here, watch. Here we go. We'll do the inverse tangent. Inverse tangent of negative square root of 3, okay, divided by 3, okay, and should give me negative 30. There it is, negative 30. Isn't that great? Okay. All right. If you would have put 330, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, remember, we're in this quadrant, and I know 330 is in that quadrant, but remember, it has to be between 0 and negative 90. Okay? All right, let's do one more easy one just to show you can do it. How about the inverse cosine, okay, of negative radical 3 over 2. Okay, negative radical 3 over 2. All right, well, it's the inverse cosine, so we're looking at this one. The ratio is negative, so we know that we are going to be bound between 90 and 180 degrees, okay? So all you have to do, look over here, look for the cosine that's negative radical 3 over 2. It's this guy right there. So we're looking at 150 degrees, 150. Okay, that's it. All right, I'm gonna pause it and start a new one.